We are here today for the final round of the selection of the 2018 Afghan Youth Representative to the United Nations. As you may know, the Netherlands is currently a member of the Security Council at the United Nations, and one of the topics that we care about a lot is youth and inclusion of youth in important decision making, also at the highest level in New York. And instead of speaking about youth and talking on behalf of young people, we think it is much better to let young people speak for themselves. So this is why we started this initiative, working together with UNAMA, the Afghan Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the youth organization Afghans for Progressive Thinking to make this happen. The youth representative to the UN will travel to New York in the first week of October to speak on behalf of their peers back home. So what we're going to do today is the following. There are 3 candidates for this position, and they've all made it through an intensive selection process, a video application and several rounds of interview. And I can tell you that they are all excellent. They all represent the voice of a new generation in Afghanistan. So today is the final round. Each candidate will give a 5-minute speech, and we chose a contemporary topic. They will all address the question how the ceasefire has impacted peace in Afghanistan. And after their speech, there will be one question from the audience that they can answer. And based on their analysis, their presentation, and their public speaking skills, the jury will make a decision and select the person who will take this position for 2018. Before I invite the first speaker to the stage, I would like to introduce you the members of our distinguished jury. The members are the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands, His Excellency Stef Blok, the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Afghanistan, Her Excellency Adila Ras, the Special Representative of the Secretary General and Head of UNAMA, His Excellency Tadamichi Yamamoto, and finally, the Head of Afghans for Progressive Thinking, the also very excellent Sofia Ramiar. Please, once again, give them a round of applause. Thank you so much for being here today. And I wish you a lot of wisdom for selecting the best candidate. So, without further ado, I would like to invite to the stage, and please give him a round of applause, Mr. Ahmad Zia Mayar.
Decades of war left more than 2 million dead, about 700,000 orphans and widows, about 1 million children as asylum seekers and migrants out of Afghanistan. Soon after the assassination of the former Afghan President Dawood Khan in 1978, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan that costed us to destroy the infrastructure, economy, agriculture, and all institutions in Afghanistan. Since then, Afghanistan has been through too many strategies and walked through too many disasters. Eventually, after the 9/11 attack of the Al-Qaeda members on the World Trade Center in New York, United States of America, as revenge, attacked Afghanistan and targeted Al-Qaeda members and Taliban in Afghanistan. In 2001, while the United States of America came to Afghanistan, they sought to find ways and solutions for the rehabilitation of Afghanistan. We're thankful to that. But yet, the security has been deteriorated recently, over the past few years, as Taliban has been influenced through Afghanistan once again. And to some extent, Taliban are ruling through a larger area of Afghanistan. On the other hand, the international community and the Afghan government is seeking to find ways to maintain security and peace through the national sovereignty. Therefore, the Afghan government announced a ceasefire on 9 June 2018 in order to maintain peace. This ceasefire was welcomed warmly by Afghan nation and the international community. There's an open question, ladies and gentlemen. One come to a house and the question is, how the ceasefire will impact the peace-building process in Afghanistan? In response to this important question, I barely could state that, luckily and fortunately, the ceasefire was not only banning to target the opposition, but this ceasefire was different and it was unprecedented. During this ceasefire, the opposition groups, they hugged each other. And Taliban members, Taliban fighters led to cities across Afghanistan. This situation and this atmosphere developed a fierce atmosphere in order to think and provoke Taliban members to think and foster the peace-building process in Afghanistan. Furthermore, the positive response of Taliban members to the ceasefire developed a trust of Afghan government on Taliban. And this experiment, it proves that Taliban are honest in their decision and announcements. And if extended for one more day, we would be able to have transparent election in Afghanistan, which is a key to a strong government and strong institution. In conclusion, the Afghan government and the Afghan nation warmly welcomed the recent ceasefire, and it has a positive impact on peace-building process. If it's extended, this would be a concrete step towards future peace-building process. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is there a member of the audience who would like to ask a question?
Thanks a lot for giving me the opportunity to ask this question. And first of all, I would like to congratulate for Mr. Ziaw Moyar and the rest of the candidates for being here. My question is related to the commitments and the contents that you have provided, and you said extension of ceasefire. Now, do you consider that the ceasefire, the 3-day ceasefire which has been agreed between both parties, is the beginning of a peace, and it's the beginning of understanding between the both parties, considering that on the third day of the ceasefire, the opposition party, which were the Taliban, they have committed that we are no longer extending the ceasefire? If yes, so what were the achievements of the government in these 3 days of the ceasefire?
A very important question. Shall I go for the question first? Okay. A very good question. Yes, obviously. This ceasefire is a window, event, a new door towards peace-building process. We warmly welcome this. Since Taliban members and Taliban fighters are from this nation, and as a political party, they have the right to decide. And now we motivate the youth, the United Nations Security Council, the international community, to urge the leadership of both sides to extend this ceasefire. The biggest achievement the Afghan government had from this ceasefire was that Taliban led to the cities across Afghanistan. They prayed in the same mosque with the Afghan military forces. They portrayed a different image of Afghanistan, especially the capital center, Kabul. The propagandas about Afghanistan was all wrong for them. The Ministry of Defense of Afghanistan announced the 2,500 Taliban fighters entered to Kabul and cities, but half of them haven't returned back to the places. They are affected by this ceasefire, and they don't have the decision to fight again. This was the biggest achievement for the government. Thank you.
Thank you, Sia. We'll stick to one question per candidate.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Sia. Our second candidate is called Soraya Youssoufi. Please welcome to the stage, Soraya.
Thank you. We have seen a lot of the selfies recently, which were like some people welcomed them very well. They were like, oh, this is a good step. And then we also had people who were like, wow, I can't believe Taliban are in the city and they're taking selfies with the soldiers. But then once after every day that we have seen all the bloodshed, all the insecurities that are happening in Afghanistan, in Kabul or any other province, at the end of the day, we see selfies, we see pictures of the people martyred. And then we are like, there is no hope. And that there is no other chance. We should not give them a chance. There is no other way to solve this problem. But if we see around, like throughout the history, there is always a way, and every war has been won by a negotiation. At the end of the day, there is two groups of people sitting in the same room discussing about the issues that they are facing, and it's done. It's done. But bringing them to the table is a very hard job, isn't it? In 2017, 8,500 people were killed in the first 3 quarters in the insurgent activities that happened throughout the country. And most of it, Taliban claimed the responsibility, and then we have the IS. But then also, meanwhile, among all these negative things happening in Afghanistan, we see a long march from Helmand to Kabul, a caravan coming to speak about peace for the first time. And Helmand is one of the provinces that is under control of Taliban, almost 85% of it. I mean, there is always a hope, right? And I mean, it is not easy for a person who lost a brother, who lost another friend, who lost 3 members of the family in an attack, and then saying that, okay, it's just fine, we can forget them, we can forgive them. Nothing can be forgotten, but are we ready and strong enough to make a peaceful future for the next generation? Are we ready to accept them to come and sit and talk to us? And that is what is, I think personally, for a woman who knows that if Taliban gets the power, it will be again the same. Women in the houses, right? But I am very, very positive about the current step that Taliban took. Now, we have seen it that throughout the history, from 2001 until now, a lot of peace talks happened, right? But all of them almost with no result. But we have also seen Taliban coming and joining the government. It means there are ways that we can talk to them. And it needs inclusiveness. We cannot just forget them and saying that, okay, just because they are the opposition, let's kill them. Not that I'm supporting whatever they do, but that giving them a chance, right? And most interestingly, meanwhile, the peace long march happening from Helmand, and then we have a lot of people welcoming it warmly, especially the soldiers who know that if tomorrow the ceasefire finishes, if tomorrow this current situation finishes, we will be the first persons who will be targeted because they have our pictures, right? They can easily recognize us. But do you think that will happen? I don't think so, because the connection between the people, the connection, the feeling between the individuals of a country is very important, and we need to consider that, regardless of how bad they are. There is a very good saying blood cannot wash blood, and it's very, very, openly, widely understood as well. And that's the case, right? You cannot just, I mean, they kill and you kill. They kill and you kill. And then you say, this is what I want and this should be implemented. And the other group will say, this should be implemented because we want. There is no common ground, right? But then in the whole, I would say 40 years of conflict, women would be the first people who would be targeted because of the insurgency and everything. But we can see that delegation goes to Oslo to have a peace talk with Taliban. It means things have changed, and there is always a way to solve problems. And I think the ceasefire, even if it would be for a day, it would save a lot of lives. And it could. I mean, the number of casualties from the other occasions that we had in Kabul or in any other province reduced to a great number. And that is an achievement. And we should be very, very, I think, positive. For me, I lost a friend, a very dear friend, in a recent attack here in Kabul. Do you think it's very easy for me to forgive them and to say that, okay, no problem, let's put a blanket on our eyes and just not consider them as humans? That is not the way, because at the end of the day, it is us and the future generation that needs a safer life, not what we are going through. So I think we should be very, very positive about the ceasefire, and it will have a great, great impact in the peace process that we are having currently in Afghanistan. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Soraya. There's time for one question.
Hello everybody, I'm Beshtar Asakh from American University of Afghanistan. Thank you very much, dear Soraya, for such a great analysis and articulated speech. It was really wonderful. My question is that I am a youth, I'm a female, and by this ceasefire has created a great fear in my heart that if Taliban come and find places in the city, especially in Kabul and all other cities, we might again go back to that decades of war, and that the women cannot go out of their houses and they cannot pursue their education. So don't you think, as a female and as a youth as well, that how can they eradicate this fear from the heart of all these people, especially youth as well?
Oh, thank you. I mean, that was because I was not in Kabul during the ceasefire, I was outside of the country. The first thing that came to my mind was thinking about the day that the Taliban will come and have like a place in government or in the society. So what would happen to me as a female who would, because I know the thinking, but as recently I was in a peace, I would say, there was a roundtable discussion where Ms. Habiba Sarabi, the director of the High Peace Council, was present there. So what was happening was that the ideas has been changed since the first days, and how they think about, they also evolve from what they used to think. So there are chances. I know that it would be a little bit tougher for us, but in terms of even imagining a peaceful country which will also ensure our security as women, I think that is a great step. And I'm definitely sure that Taliban cannot get, I would say, a higher place that can influence the government so much. But even in that case, I think the current youth and the current woman has the ability to tackle the problem and solve it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Soraya. So it is now time for our third and final candidate. Please welcome to the stage Ramiz Bakhtiar.
In January 2016, a Taliban car bomber targeted a bus carrying staffers from Tolo TV. The blast killed 7 people, all innocent. They were my colleagues and my friends. I knew some of them very personally. That was a very harsh incident for me, but ladies and gentlemen, that is not only my story. That is the story of every Afghan. All of us have lost something to this bloody war. But today, I would like to acknowledge 2 things. First, there is no way to end this conflict but peace. And secondly, let's all of us acknowledge that peace is a very, very difficult and a long process. In that connection, I'm very optimistic and hopeful for the ceasefire that was announced by the Afghan government. There are basically three scenarios that I would like to discuss today, given the time that has been given to us. The first scenario is that the ceasefire defined and presented a new narrative. Before, the popular narrative was that the Taliban are killing machines. They don't want peace, and they will not respond to any good faith offer from the government side. But that was proven wrong. You know, we saw that thousands of Talibans came to the cities. They accepted the offer officially for the first time after 17 years of conflict in the country. I believe this is a great step to start the negotiations. This also set a new narrative for the Taliban. You know, they saw that they have a place in the community, in the society. They never thought that Afghans will embrace them. But today they know that they have a chance to join the peace processes. I believe that we will see a rise in the number of combatants joining the peace processes or surrendering to the government. You know, this also expressed a genuine interest among the combatants and the Taliban commanders. Second scenario, ladies and gentlemen, that I would like to present and discuss is that we can learn from other countries. You know, we have great examples. Nelson Mandela started the peace negotiation with the apartheid regime with a ceasefire in 1919. You know, the Colombian government started the peace negotiations with a ceasefire that was announced in January 2016, and they succeeded, and they ended a conflict after 52 years. You know, all big things have small beginnings, and this is, I think, a very meaningful step to start the negotiations and then the peace process. If we remember the ceasefire between India and Pakistan and Bangladesh in 1971, that a huge catastrophe was avoided because the Pakistani forces agreed on a ceasefire with the Indian forces, and I believe that was a great step. So we can learn a lesson from that. That's why the ceasefire makes me hopeful. Third scenario that I would like to present, ladies and gentlemen, is that ceasefire on the front lines reinforces the confidence in the leadership that there is the possibility and feasibility for a durable political settlement. And that confidence in the leadership is very, very important. We saw that confidence within the leadership of the Afghan government. We saw that confidence within the leadership of the Taliban forces. This ceasefire was not just like a ceasefire. It was a real reconciliation process. In the ceasefire, they did not hug each other, they did not greet with each other, but we saw that the Taliban and the Afghan security forces, they greeted each other and they hugged each other. It was a national reconciliation. This also tells us that how thirsty everybody is for peace, how frustrated everybody at the both sides is for peace, and it says that it shows us that there is a very genuine interest among combatants to join the peace processes. When the ceasefire, we saved, in 3-day ceasefire, we saved almost 1,000 lives, which was a very good news. Considering all of these, I believe this is a great step for Afghanistan. This is a great time for Afghanistan, and we will lead this movement to negotiations with the Taliban, and we, I believe, we will end this conflict with a peace agreement with the Taliban. Let me also shout out on every young person in this room that peace is not an impossible dream. A new Afghanistan is rising. This is our country, and this is our responsibility to make sure that we deliver a peaceful and a democratic Afghanistan to the next generations, not a war-ravaged Afghanistan. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ramiz. A question?
Hello. First of all, thank you so much. My question is, at the 7th day of the ceasefire from the Afghanistan government, at the 4th day of, it's the 7th day, I'm talking about the previous day. Yes, about the previous day. At the 4th day of Eid, Taliban killed about 50 to 40 soldiers and have injured about 17 others. Don't you think that they are acting same as killing machine?
Well, the ceasefire ended. I was focusing on the ceasefire, you know, and that how that could impact the long picture. There are concerns. There are counter narratives, you know, and these concerns are undeniable. This is conflict. The conflict will go on. I believe we will face a lot of other difficult problems. You know, from a home to the event, I was reading a book written by Adam Kahani. The book is How to Solve Tough Problems. And he says that the biggest leadership mistake that we make in today's world is that we solve tough problems through force and authority, and that does not work. Because using force is easy. It seems easy at the beginning, but that does not work. And we saw that it didn't work for us, it didn't work for other countries, and it will not work for generations. There is another way of solving tough problems, and that is talking and listening. And in order to start speaking and listening, we need to be very tolerant, we need to be very strong, and we need to be very open.
Thank you so much. We've heard 3 fantastic speeches by the candidates. I would like to now invite the jury to leave the room for deliberation. All right, if everybody has found their seat, I would like to give the word to the members of the jury. Who can I give the floor to first?
Oh, it's on, okay. Is it on or off? Which one is it?
It's because your one is on. Put that one off.
I was asked to comment on the first speaker, and that is Mr. Ahmad Zia Mayar. We all agreed, I think, that it is not easy for the first speaker to start, so we gave you the credit for being the first one to start the discussion or the speech. Your analysis were fair, that's a good point. You started with an historical background in terms of the war and conflict in Afghanistan and its relevance, why we need to have peace. That's a good point. And also your answer to the main question that was asked by the audience, I think it was a fair answer. It was good. The part that we acknowledge in a sense that it might have been much better if the introduction part of your discussion was less than 3 minutes. I wrote it down. It took 3 minutes with the historical perspective, and then you addressed the main question in the remaining time. And also, if the focus was more on the exact question and with bringing more conviction of why we need to have a ceasefire was effective enough and to have peace. So overall, I think good luck. You're beginning a good start.
Good afternoon. I'm asked to comment on Suraya. I enjoyed your presentation. Thank you very much. It was very personal, and I thought that it was really interesting that you looked at the ceasefire's impact upon people, both you, but also but also to the people of Afghanistan, including those from Taliban, and talked about the importance of connection between people, how the ceasefire affect the minds of people, and I think that was really interesting. And I think you drew a lot of us into your story and your analysis and understanding of the situation. So emotionally, I think it was really, really interesting, and it is a very important angle that you pointed out. The answer to your question about women was a very difficult one. But I think, we all hope that the things will move. Taliban has officially been changing its position. We hope that it sticks. I think you capture that sentiment that exists among people. What could have been a little better was if you had actually looked at a little bit on the political side as well. But I thought, you really did a very good job looking at the very important and, if I may say so, the most fundamental part in really moving the peace process. Minds of the people and how people actually yearn for peace and can accept peace. So thank you very much. It was very, very interesting. Thank you.
So I'm about to comment on our last speaker or candidate, who is Rames. And so I would say to Rames that we were very impressed by your speech. So you are very confident. So how you started, we really like it. And I'm sure that all our audience are also impressed by your speech. And regarding your question, so you were very to the point, and you just answered your question that what we were expecting you to answer. So so you did a very good job. Thank you.
Now, of course, the jury has the task to make a choice, which is not easy. I'd like, first of all, to thank Ramesh and Soraya and Ahmad, because it takes courage to take the stage here and to tell about your hopes and wishes for the future and your personal experiences. And we really had a feeling, listening to you, but also looking at all the faces here in the audience and hearing your questions, that we were looking at the future of Afghanistan. We are here at a very important point in time. And listening to you really gave us hope about the future of this country. It won't always be easy, but you have thought well about what you want to achieve. You have impressive curricula vitae behind you, although you are still very young, so our hopes are on you. But of course, we had to make a choice. And we thought that the most consistent, most eloquent presentation has been given by Ahmad Sia Mayar. Congratulations. Sorry. Oh, what a, by Ramesh Bakhtiar. Sorry. Prize is a trip to New York. So
That's a very big prize.
Yes. I hope you enjoyed very much.
I will do.
And thank you very much for attending.
Congratulations. Ramesh, you did a fantastic job. Also, once again, thank you to the other candidates for coming out and putting yourself forward. I think the minister put it very well when he said that you represent a new voice of Afghanistan, and that's really, really hopeful and encouraging to see. I would like to thank the members of the jury. I would like to thank the Afghans for Progressive Thinking and the Bayat Foundation for their support of this event, and I would like to thank my colleague Jana van der Linden, who conceptualized this whole event. So that is the end of today. Downstairs there will be cool drinks and refreshments. And you're all very welcomely invited to join the group downstairs and have a chat about well, whatever you want to, whatever you learned today, and discuss all the speeches. So that was it for me. Thank you so much for coming, and have a great day. Thank you.